We've got the Asrock X99 all-rounder motherboard. Now this is the Tai Chi version. Now this is in between, obviously there's a bottom end and then there's high end, and this is the middle one. So if you've got an Xeon chip or you've got a 2011 version 3 chip, this will go in this motherboard no problem. You can have up to 3,300 overclocked RAM in here, which are 128 gigabytes of memory. It also has 22 and 40 lanes depending on the CPU that you're going to use with this actual motherboard. It's got purity sound as well, 7.1 HD, and we're going to take a look and tell you more about it. So let's get on with it. So let's talk more about the features of this motherboard. So it's an all-rounder motherboard, so this is going to be great for overclocking, and it's going to be good for using as for video editing and gaming and stuff like that. It may be a bit of an overkill for gaming, but games are screaming out for more power and stuff like that with only a certain titles, but they still work on only dual core really. CPUs. So this is going to be an all-rounder for everything. So you can do video editing, you could be a sound engineer, you can use a HDPC cinema like 4K and whatever else, and obviously it's going to be able to render really well if you've got a decent CPU, and it can hold loads of memory, and it's got lanes depending on your CPU. Now let's talk about the M.2. So we've got two M.2s, one there, one there. So that means that if you've got certain things that are connected and you haven't got the right CPU, you can only use one M.2. Now if you've got the higher grade, more expensive CPU that runs on 40 lanes, you'll be able to use both M.2. Now because this is an all-rounder motherboard, it also shares the SATA 6 connections on the actual side. So that means that you can have dual, and it runs in RAID 0, RAID 1, RAID 5 and RAID 10 and stuff like that. But these are shared SATA connections and can be shared with the M.2 as well. But the good thing about it is that if you've got a real high processing CPU, you can run the whole thing and really get it into beast mode. So as I said earlier, you can have 128 gigs of DDR4 running at 3,300 overclocked RAM in here, no problem whatsoever. You've got what's this at the bottom? 2 USBs at the bottom, which is for USB 3s. Connectors. I think this has got 5 headers. It's also got one for water cooling. It runs at 1.5 volts or up to 1.5 volts, and then it's got one for your normal CPU air cooler. It's got 8-pin EPS connector at the top there. It's got purity sound, which is 7.1 surround sound. It's got decent Japanese capacitors on there, which means that the sound quality is going to last longer and it's going to be more clearer and stuff like that. They always put better Japanese capacitors on motherboards because they seem to hold more voltage and you can do more things with it. It runs on DTS3 as well. It's got a spiff out, and then obviously you've got your normal 3.5mm jacks to connect through your headphone jack and your microphone jack and your 5.1, your 6.1 and your 7.1 surround sound. You've got 2 USB 3s which are up to 5 gigabits per second. You've got 2 infinite bit NIC connectors, and they run at AC as well. It also comes with Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, and it's all in the newest technology as well, so you can go really far and still get the optimized speed that you would like. 2 USB 2s, and then obviously your keyboard and mouse connectors at the back, a CMOS reset button, a type C at the back there, and a 3.1, so it's A and B, and basically that goes up to 10 gigabits per second, which is the newest version of USB 3. And then you've got one USB 2 there and another USB 3, so all in all 3 USB 3s and 2 USB 3.1s. So on here, people ask me a lot in the comments, can this motherboard do Crossfire, can it do SLI? Well, yes to both. It can do CrossFireX, which is free graphics cards, and it can do SLI as well for NVIDIA, and it's got all the slots there. The top one here runs at 16 times bus, and then the other ones run at 8 times bus, but depending on your own CPU, how many lanes you can get it to work. But at the top one, it would always be 16 times bus on the top. And then I like where they've actually situated the M.2 on the top and on there, makes the board look really nice. I like the CMOS battery. It's in the way of the clocks, and it just looks really like quite, I don't know, I think it's quite cool. The black and white sort of theme. You've got a switch here as well where you can select different BIOS as well at the bottom, and you've got jumpers and stuff like that. It made everything quite easy at the bottom of the actual motherboard to actually connect the front headers to the case and stuff like that. You've got an additional 2 SATA 6 connectors on the actual motherboard there that are facing outwards, and the aesthetics of it is just really nice. This is plastic over the top, which is just a plastic like shroud over the top, and then you got a little bit of chrome, but this bit's metal. You can unscrew this from the actual back of the motherboard, which is there and there, and take the shroud off if you don't really want it on there. You've got a header there for the fan, header there for fan, header there, another one there. So they're not too bad where they are positioned. It means that you can have a nice, clean, tidy build when you actually put this all together, and it looks quite nice. I really do like it, and the price is around 230 to 240-ish of the actual motherboard, which is definitely well, it's a good price and you get a lot for it, but it is also overclocking, but it's not like top overclocking, but you should be able to do really well with it, and overclock CPUs quite generally pretty easy with it. But that's the whole point why we've got it, so we can see how easy it is to overclock as well. Well, we're going to go and test it and see how well it performs. Right, so let me tell you the quick specifications that I've got on this test bench. So I've got 1000 watt power supply. I've got one crucial 8 gigabytes of 3000 megahertz RAM. No, actually it is 2400. And I've got a GTX 970 graphics card on there, and what else? Got OCZ solid state 480 gigabyte hard drive. And I'm just capturing what I've seen on the screen. The UI looks really nice, and it's fluid and it's easy, and there's so many different menus. It's quite straightforward. So your memory comes up on this screen here, and it's obviously saying I've got 8 gigabyte, one stick, 2400, and it's not populated in the front, it's populated into the back. With this CPU air cooler that I've got, the RAM was slightly too big, and couldn't populate all the RAM sticks. I was going to actually put 64 gig in there, but it didn't work out, so I only put one stick of 8 gig. Now, if you're like an amateur or just getting into overclocking, there's simple ways you can do it. So you can come into the BIOS, which is F2 or delete, and then you can simply just go from clicking off to on to overclock your CPU, and it will do like the rest, and it will be stable and stuff like that. But if you're advanced and everything like that, then you go into the advanced mode, which is F6 at the top here, and then obviously it gives you all the RAM where my RAM slot is there, then the overclock tweaker, and then you can add on to the XMP, which these RAM sticks are, and then you can do it as automatic, or you can do it and disable it and really try and push the RAM, overclock the graphics card, overclock this, overclock that. And yeah, it's really quite cool. So I can go into, at the moment I've got a base clock at 3500 megahertz on a 5930K processor, and I'm just going to go into where is it, load, optimize overclocking, tweaking functions. So you can have it disabled where it runs at 3.5, which is standard throughout the box, or you can turbo up to 4 gigahertz, 4.2, 4.4 and 4.6. Now 4.6, 4.4, 4.2 is more likely going to have to be water cooled. Now I've got R1 CPU air cooler, and I tried testing it in a different few ways, and it has crashed on the blue screen. So technically this CPU air cooler is not really great for overclocking like high levels. You can have a little slight overclock, but not a big overclock. Overclocking is really for water cooling anyway, so you can get the best performance that you can. But with this UI is simply sick. So what I'm going to do is going to add another 500 megahertz and see if I can get a decent clock out of that. You can upgrade the voltage and everything like this. So I'm going to go into CPU configuration, and then I've got CPU ratio with all cores. You can disable it and just do it however way you want to do it. So I've got base frequency and PCIe ratio and Intel speed step, so it's got loads of things that can help you, but if you're advanced at overclocking, you would probably turn them off and do it very manually and stuff like that. So as you can see, it's just absolutely loads and loads of different frequencies you can have the CPU called at, and then you've got your little configurations, hardware and stuff like that. It's got a hardware graph, shows you the CPU like ratio your fan going and how much temperature it is. It even tells you that if you're going to go in the overclock, make sure you've got a decent cooler to actually overclock your CPU. So that's pretty cool. And then you've got CPU thermal throttling, and then all the normal stuff that you normally have on a motherboard, which would be like all your USB and your RAID setup and stuff like that. But you've got easy RAID on here as well, which is there, so you can easy RAID your setup and obviously put a disc in or USB stick and stuff like that. And then you've got loads of things that you can connect to the internet and like update your BIOS and stuff like that. And you've got, there's your hardware facility there. So my CPU temperature is running at 44 degrees and stuff like that, and I've got no other fans because it's open test bench, and it says my voltage at the moment should be, where is it? It's 1.36 gigahertz volts at the moment, and it's got fan tuning, which I really like. Fantastic tuning. I haven't been on that one yet, but let me go to the fan tuning. So what it does, as you heard, my fan was really loud, and now I can speak quietly, and it's tuning the fan. So you can go into this BIOS or this Asrock UI, and you can really mess around with the settings and get that like a real proper performance. So you can have it really quite quiet, but then you can obviously test it and stress test it, see if it works and stuff, then come back, and then you can switch between the BIOS on the actual motherboard, or you can save profiles as well, and different fan profiles. So if you've got different CPU air coolers or water cooling, or you've got it in the case, you can set different profiles for each different thing. So when you're stress testing, you can see if it works or if it doesn't. So that's pretty cool. So the detection of the fan, it goes through the whole cycle. So if you've got like 7 or 8 or 10 fans in the case, it will optimize them all for the proper performance and the right temperature. So at the moment it's at 43.5 degrees, it's around 23 degrees in here, room temperature, and the motherboard's running at 28 degrees as well. My fan was running at like 1800 RPMs, rotations per minute. So now it's just sorting it all out and it's getting it all done, but it takes around it takes probably about 3 or 4 minutes to do that. So I'm going to come back to it in 1 second. So as you can see on the screen, it's got CPU fan 1 minimal duty equals 32%, and CPU OPT, which is obviously we've got water cooling pump, and it's connected to the motherboard via that header, and there's nothing connected. So all the other fans and water cooling and everything like that's all 0% because there's nothing to test on there. So that takes around 3 minutes, so that's pretty cool. Now at the moment, yeah, my fan's like really quite light, but as soon as I turn it off, because I ain't going to save the mode, it will go back up again. But yeah, so all my voltages are really nice and simple and really nice and clean. I really like it. There's the fan monitor and CPU air coolers and all that sort of stuff, so you can connect, just press each different presets and it will give you a different graph, so easy to read, tells you how much percentage or degrees it is and what the ratio it's running at and stuff like that. So that's really quite cool. Obviously you've got your own simple security and stuff like that. And then obviously you can boot USB stick and stuff like that to do, like if you've got Windows XP and you want a dual BIOS or whatever, I don't know, you can have different things with this motherboard, so it's really quite cool. Just playing around with it as it is, it's really quite cool. I don't know what that is. Dehumidifier function. If dehumidifier function is enabled, the computer with power on and dehumidify the system after an S5 state. Okay, still don't know what that is. So you just got loads of different functions and stuff that can work through internet, all straight through the BIOS, which is really quite cool. You can obviously overclock your graphics card and stuff like that as well, and make it a bit more efficient. And then got all your SATA connections to run in RAID and stuff like that, or SATA Express. You can obviously disconnect your mouse and keyboard and have it just via USB, and you can have a wake up system on here and stuff like that, which you can set in here, or you don't really want it, you can set your audio up in here that I can see, and your USB 3.1, and then everything's all in here, like your voltages for your memory and your motherboard and power supply and all that sort of stuff, so you can get the advanced level that you want, and then you can just go into save profiles and save it in there. So obviously a minimum of 1.3 something volts would be perfect, which would be your baseline for this sort of CPU anyway. And as I said, that you can get really great performance if you've got a better CPU like a Xeon processor, but if you've got one of the low ones, it's obviously 22 lanes and that's how it runs and stuff. But as soon as you put a more powerful CPU in there, you get more functions that open up. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to save my functions, and as you will hear, my CPU will go back higher to what it is, because I set it up for 4 gigahertz overclock I did. So I'm going to check it to see if it's actually on CPU Z and see if it does what it says on the tin. Right, so I've clocked it over 500 more, so it's running at 4 gigahertz, and obviously it's only on one single bit of RAM, so it's not quad channel at the moment, it's just a single performance of the RAM. So obviously if I were to put more RAM in there and populate it properly, then we get quad channel, and it'll be running at its most performance speed with the 5930K that's in there as well. So at the moment the cores are running around 22 degrees over, actually it's more than 4 cores. What am I talking about? 1, 2, 3, 4, so 6 cores we've got. So yeah, it's a 6-core processor we've got. Anyway, so yeah, they're all running at different temperatures and stuff like that, but it's all pretty okay at the moment. CPU fan is running at 936 rotations per minute, and it's not too bad. Then I'm going to do a little stress test and see if it's stable. But the whole thing about it is trying to get everything running all together at the same time. But as you can hear, my CPU's boosted up, and I'll just run this test for like 5 minutes. Right, I'm stopping the test, and we've reached a maximum temperature of 67 degrees over all cores, and yeah, that's pretty okay. And this is off a CPU air cooler, so imagine when you get water cooling and everything like that, and you're tweaking in this BIOS system, because the BIOS system on there is super, it's just really fluid. Like all the other BIOSes that I use in different manufacturers, it's not as fluid as this BIOS. This BIOS is really quite cool, and it's good. You can go backwards and forwards, and you can switch BIOS and everything like that. It's really quite cool. Anyway, if you like this video or you got any questions, leave them down in the comments down below, and I'll answer them, because I'm gonna keep testing this motherboard a little bit more, and I want to test it for, like, obviously gaming and stuff like that, or I may go with doing Kaby Lakes. I'm not too sure, but yeah, anyway, give me a thumbs up if you like this video, dislike if you disliked it, and I will see you next one. And before you go, don't forget to subscribe, that little button down there. Thanks for watching.